Hello everybody and welcome back to Pravus Gaming and more Democracy 3 on max difficulty Greece. Apparently, by the way, elections are supposed to be every 4 years, not 5. I really need to stop assuming that modders know what the heck they're doing and wiki this stuff ahead of time, because now I feel kind of silly, but whatever, it's not my fault. That was the default setting. I assumed someone knew what they were doing. But you know what they say about assumptions. Whatever, we're going on into year 3 now. Debt is down to €500 million, which is not exactly great, but considering where we were, it looks like the debt crisis is going to end in about 2 turns, which is equivalent to 6 months or so in the game. So, you know, I would say a debt crisis of the scale of Greece being resolved in 2.5 years is pretty darn good. The real question is whether or not I live. And yeah, we're going to allow for same-sex marriage, of course, because we are playing with a liberal playthrough. It only makes sense. Unemployment is still going to be massive, but that's because as long as the debt crisis is here, things seem to be getting steadily worse and worse and worse. So yeah, the sooner we resolve this, the better. A couple more turns. By turn 3, I think it is going to be gone. My really big problem here is that I'm making very little political capital. And I would say we want to reshuffle the cabinet now, except I still feel like we need to be ready to just revitalize the economy the instant the debt crisis is done. And to that extent, I think we need to focus on a few more economic policies, namely small business grants. This one is excellent, in my personal opinion. Self-employed are thrilled because all we're basically doing is handing out government grants to those who want to start up a new business. So lots of small businesses start up, a lot of mom and pop shops. You know, and then basically as a result, the self-employed membership goes up. And of course, the more people own their own business, the less they feel socialistic. That's pretty fun. The GDP also goes up. At maximum, for 3.8 billion euros per quarter, we get 5.5% GDP growth. That is fantastic. Also, trade unionist membership goes down, which is kind of fun. Capitalists are happy, which is good considering they're trying to kill me right now. Socialism membership goes down by almost 13%, which again, good, because we're going to be making the capitalists a lot happier pretty soon. Yeah, all this is basically just good for me across the board. Why not? Make the self-employed happy and get more of them. Who doesn't like that? It's perfect. And of course, a GDP growth would be nice. Now, we're still bottomed out. I'm just really eager to see, once the debt crisis is gone, which you can see here is by a long shot our biggest drag on the economy, is this going to spike by 33%? Because that's going to lead to a much larger surplus. That would be pretty fantastic if that's the case. We also need to make liberals a lot happier because I think they're still trying to kill me right now. Yeah, the Freedom League is still gaining members. So is the Battenberg group. And I've kind of reduced my security, so I'm a sitting duck waiting to get murdered. Needed to do something to make these people happy. What about jury trials? Legal aid is all pretty good. There's stuff that can make liberals happier. For example, right here, here's something really cheap. Jury trial. Only takes like a little bit of political capital, but will eke out an extra like 6% approval for like practically no money at all. I'm okay with that. I know that we're kind of wasting some points on non-economic things right now, but I really want to make sure I don't die, because believe it or not, that gets really annoying. By the way, apparently, 100% of the population became religious. How did I do this? No, wait, how did I do this? How has it been going up? I haven't done anything. The Greek Orthodox Church apparently kicked in at full swing, plus 12% for being Greek. 100%. Wow. Maybe I shouldn't have legalized same-sex marriage. They're a much larger group than the liberals. Awkward. Very awkward. Okay, well, we're going to have to keep them nice and happy. I'm not accustomed to this in a liberal capitalist playthrough, but this will be fun. We'll move on to the next turn. We have... gosh, I keep expecting that to go faster. Celebrity endorsements? What? We live in a celebrity-obsessed age. Normally, we criticize this phenomena, but not today, because as long as somebody is benefiting me with their celebrity status, then my standards just kind of fly out the window. I'm very hypocritical in that way. Actually, for real, I really do not like the celebrity culture that we have sometimes. You know? Why do we have so many people, like, you know, going to the White House or taking some political stands just because they're famous? Not why they're famous? I don't know. It's just something that annoys me. It grinds my gears a little bit. But as long as they're endorsing me, it's apparently fine. Credit rating has been upgraded. Hey, now we're a double C. Ooh. Isn't that excellent? And there was a failed assassination by the hyper-rich industrialists known as the Battenberg Group. Oh, crap! The 1% is trying to kill me! Flavian Petru, or whatever, is not happy. He likes religious and capitalists. Gosh dang it, it's not— look, I'm working on it! Gosh dang capitalists! I'm trying! I know the GDP is low. I know the debt crisis is god-awful, but look! As of next turn, it's gone. If I don't get an immediate 47% boost in popularity with them, I'm going to be a little bit peeved. That's all I have to say. All right, so some other things that we need to worry about. Technology backwater. This is going to be a pretty big drag on the economy by almost 10%. It doesn't look that significant. That looks like 3. Nope, it's 10. Yeah, technology backwater really bad. What's our technology rating right now? Pretty average. Science funding is something that could fix a lot of that. But it's really expensive. I think we'll wait until the debt crisis is done. By the way, our surplus is only growing larger, which I find very interesting. So yeah, we need to improve our technology through some other ways. There are a few good ways to do it, namely things like tech grants. Those work pretty well, though it does cost a little bit of money. There's also tech colleges, which is a bit cheaper and does basically the same thing. So, you know, let's go ahead and pass this one. It says it's not popular with voters because of specialist schools, which increases income inequality. Which again, just makes me sad. You know, technology colleges are amazing. Why does everyone act as if you have to go to some sort of a 4-year university in order to have a shot at life? Gosh, in the United States alone, I mean, okay, I'll say up front, one of my biases is that I like Micro a lot, the guy who does dirty jobs. And he has all this cool stuff about, like, there's so many, like, tens or hundreds of thousands of jobs that are not being met in the United States right now that you could totally do if you just went to a freaking technical school. Why don't people do that? You can get a high school education, go to technical school, and get a pretty gosh dang good salary, and here's the big kicker, no student debt. Gosh dang it, guys. If you're not going to go to college to get a high-paying degree, like some sort of a STEM field or something, why are you going to college, you know? I know people who go to college for like a communications degree because they think, as long as you go to college, it's easy street. That's how it worked in our parents' generation. Those times are gone, I'm pretty sure. I mean, it worked for me, but that's because I went into a STEM field. If I hadn't, I probably would have been like a machinist or a welder or something. Something helpful. And on top of that, I don't care what people say. I know some people like kind of look down upon that as like blue-collar work. Oh, first off, screw you. Blue-collar work is very good. Okay? And second, I'm envious of it. That's practical hands-on skills right there. You know? There are times I wish I'd become an auto mechanic. You know? That's a useful school. In my job, all I do is I sit in front of a computer, making virtual models for things that I'll never get to touch. It's kind of sad. Anyway, enough of that. So the technology goes up by 19.14%. That's not bad for a €2 billion investment. Socialists are unhappy by this. Surprisingly, state employee membership goes way up. Well, by way up, I mean by 3.8%. Is it because I'm hiring new teachers? Is that the point of it? Could be. I'm not especially sure if that's tied to. And education goes up by 8%, which again, technology plus education for only $2 billion, that's a pretty good deal. But, of course, income inequality goes down a little bit, and that's just only going to get worse. Sorry, not much I can do about that until we start reducing some of the taxes. By the way, how are things like ghettos looking? I'm not even looking at that right now. That's actually going to go away in just a couple of turns. Not bad. What about the street gangs? Those are gone, right? Yeah, street gangs are gone, so that's one of the reasons this is naturally deteriorating. So even if I do nothing, then in just a couple of turns, this is going to be gone. That improves equality a fair bit. Also increases immigration. Alcohol abuse. Now, this is something we actually may want to tackle sooner rather than later, at least a little bit. The thought on this here is that alcohol does get consumed a bit the more people have pocket money to spend. So as GDP improves and stuff, it tends to get a little bit worse. Unemployment, of course, being quite high also apparently increases alcohol. Basically, it has a lot to do with if people have money, they'll buy alcohol. If people don't have money, they somehow still buy alcohol. Whatever, it doesn't make a lot of sense. So we want to reduce alcohol consumption because the alcohol abuse does ultimately create crime and reduce health by a pretty surprising margin and greatly increase the cost of state healthcare services. Now, I don't have a lot of state healthcare services, so this isn't a big deal to me right now, but if I were playing as, let's say, Canada, this would actually be costing me many billions of Canadian dollars. Or maple leaf dollars. Or loonies and toonies. I don't know. Those are the coins I use, was loonies. Anyway, well, the point is we want to reduce alcohol consumption. Now, we could do that through a couple of different ways. We could increase the minimum drinking age, and we might have to do this temporarily just to get across the threshold to stop the event, and then go back, because it's just ridiculous to suggest we can only have low-strength beer in Greece. Come on. Greek wine is amazing. Okay? We're not going to do that. We're not going to torture them forever. Just a little bit. Maybe for 3 months until they all get sober and develop new habits. One of the other ways you can do it is by doing the... Where is it? Do we not have an... Does we not have an alcohol awareness campaign? Am I crazy? I'm pretty sure it exists. There it is. It's under welfare. Why? I don't know. But apparently alcohol can be dangerous, even in moderation. That's right. If you've ever had 1 beer a week, you're probably going to die of liver disease, cirrhosis, or whatever. Whatever. I actually have seen some recent things. It's like, if you ever have more than 2 drinks a week, you're probably going to get all these different diseases, and you're reducing your life expectancy by a full year. Which I'm like, good lord. If that's what it takes to stay alive, I'm not sure I want to live. Anyway, 240 million euros per quarter in order to reduce alcohol consumption by a full 10%. Now, the other way that you could have dealt with this is by increasing the alcohol tax. And we might end up still doing this at some point. Just by making it more expensive does reduce alcohol consumption quite a bit. It also greatly increases poverty, though. And the thing is, the less people are consuming alcohol, the more money I ultimately get from the alcohol tax. So you can increase it to like a high amount to think you get a lot of money, but then it reduces so much that it ends up kind of evening out. So really the reason you raise taxes is more or less for social engineering more than anything else. Speaking of social engineering, we should do something to make capitalists happier. How about the Young Entrepreneur Scheme? This is fantastic. This is a scheme to help and support young people who are aiming to become businessmen in the future. We're going to groom the new corporate oligarchs. By giving them opportunities to learn from veterans and detailed information about what to do and who to ask, this will increase happiness among capitalists as they see their future secured. There's a part of me that almost kind of likes this idea, not for the social engineering reasons, but more for just practical reasons. Like, have you ever thought what would happen in, let's say, middle school or high school if instead of taking, I don't know, let's say calculus, which most people will never use in their life, they learn basic finance and business management or something like that instead? Maybe not business management, but at least finances, you know? These are useful things that people could learn in high school instead that they're going to use, as opposed to calculus, which only like, what, 4% of the population bothers to learn? Or I don't actually know the numbers, but you get my point. I don't know. I don't know that necessarily doesn't lead to an entrepreneur, but my point is, school focused a bit more on money and other life skills like that could be more practical in my view. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Tell me what you guys think in the comment section below. So capitalists and the youth like this. We're grooming the children to like me more. And most importantly, socialism membership goes down by another 6.5%. So this is where the social engineering really does come into play. Honestly, I know a lot of people get confused about this in Democracy 3. If you want to win this game, okay, it's not just about getting good policies and like solving your country's problems. I only wish it were that simple and that voters were that rational. But it's not true. You have to make certain groups happy. You have to focus on that. What's the best thing to do? Pick your demographic and then social engineer the crap out of the country to create as many of those people in those groups as possible. Case in point, the liberals. Now, I wasn't expecting to make that happen with, you know, the religious membership. That's kind of hilarious. We may need to stop legalizing prostitution at some point. Here's the downside, by the way, of this. Even if you go down to minimum, just the fact that it exists. No legalization, but the policy exists. Religious people hate you. You have to cancel it. And it costs 25 political capital to do that. A little bit unpleasant. But really, what can you do? I mean, it just is what it is. Maybe the religious won't kill me today. Capitalists still want me dead. The debt crisis is over! Hooray! Now the GDP can start to skyrocket, and the capitalists will stop trying to murder me. And by the way, I'm looking at 40% of the vote right now, in no small part because I've made the Greek Orthodox Church quite happy. We could actually try turning this into a liberal capitalist theocratic run. That would be kind of fun. Ban livestock imports. One of our neighboring countries has foot and mouth disease in its cattle. So the question is, do we allow them to come in anyway as some sort of a health precaution, which of course the farmers are lobbying for. And here's the trick. This is something you should learn about corporate America, or Greece in this case, just lobbyists in general. Oh, it sounds like it's to protect the public. Look to see who's doing the lobbying. Oh, look, they benefit from something like this. And I got nothing against farmers, don't get me wrong. But, of course they don't want to have any imports. It's direct competition to their business. Oh, anyway. All right, so do we reject the ban? No statistical or scientific basis for a blanket ban. I mean, yeah, I would kind of agree with that. Approve the ban. Not worth the risk, however slight it might be. No, I kind of agree. I think we're just going to go ahead and reject the ban. Sorry, farmers, but we're not going to do that. Free market for all the way. All the frickin' way. Yeah, corporate America and stuff. That's fun. You know, it's funny. I saw a little bit of confusion, I think, in the first video as I was going through some comments and stuff. I know earlier I was saying that I am a free market capitalist, but I am not a corporatist. I suppose I should probably clarify a little bit of that. Corporatism is an interesting ideology as far as separation of sectors of the economy and, you know, the partnership between labor, business owners, and the state, and so on and so forth. That's, I guess, one way of using the word. The other is basically corporatization. No, it's not. There's a word for it. Corporatocracy? Corporatocracy, I think, is the other word that people sometimes use when they refer to that. But basically has a lot to do with corporations lobbying in order to get special privileges, which they use to then greatly increase their power and their profits because, hey, guess what? The government is a regulator, which means if you lobby them, you can get better favors, which means it's a very cost-effective thing to do. Either way, that's a lot of the stuff that I'm against personally. I have no problem with corporations on a moral level if it is the most effective business model for a particular industry, as long as nothing is being done to stop or prevent competition from fighting against it, and if something else, like a small business model or even a syndicalist model, is more efficient in that particular industry, then I say let them compete and beat the corporations down. And I'm all about the exchange of free ideas and voluntary transactions. That's my point when I say that I'm all about a free market capitalism. Anyway, 23 points left. So what do we want to do next? We're looking at a 40 billion euro surplus right now, only 400 billion in debt. Could be a lot worse. So we want to improve the technology backwater. Now, first off, let's take a look at the GDP. Is the GDP caught up yet? Not yet. Next turn, it's about to spike, I think. Capitalism, they are a lot happier. I definitely see that the debt crisis is gone, so this is about to skyrocket. That is going to be good. So I guess what we can continue doing is focusing on education and technology backwater. And anything else I can do to make the liberals a little bit happier would certainly be nice. What's a terrorism threat right now? So we're still in danger. There's enough terrorists they might try to kill me, but membership is going down rather substantially. So in another year or so, I think I will be safe. So let's focus on the technology first, since I did say I wanted to do that. We're going to go ahead and do those tech grants we talked about earlier. That costs 3.47 billion. This does reduce religious membership. Quite a bit, in fact. By 18.7%. Because, as you all know, the more people have iPhones and laptops, the less likely they're going to believe in God. Because that's how it works. Unemployment is going to go down, which is good for us. The GDP does take a slight boost. Not enough to really pay for itself. The productivity is pretty nice, though. That's going to help to fix our uncompetitive economy. Productivity is king in that. So more productivity is always good. Technology also helps with that and gets rid of the technology backwater. And the capitalists are happy. Basically, this is a straight win for me, except for the religious membership decrease, because right now they like me a lot and they'll vote for me. But I think I can make that work anyway. In fact, why don't we go ahead and do something else that's really nice. Maximum prisons. Extensive rehabilitation is always good in this game, which is interesting because that doesn't seem to be how it works in the real world. I know quite a few of the more conservative-leaning people are not necessarily in favor of extensive rehabilitation because they think that, one, the criminals, depending on the crime, don't necessarily deserve a second chance and should face their full consequences, and two, it's far more expensive and involved as far as like psychotherapy and so on. However, in this game, everyone likes it. It is only a good thing. It costs a little bit of money, but liberals are thrilled. Conservatives even like it. State employees like it, and there are more of them hired, so the more they like me, the better. Unemployment goes down and crime goes down because we're rehabilitating people so they stop committing crimes. Because all that you had to do was simply teach them not to be bad people. Didn't you know that? I'm feeling very sarcastic today, and I don't know why, but somehow I feel like it's more entertaining. Whatever, anyway. So now we have that done, so the liberals should like me a lot more, which is good now that they are 61.3% of the population. Socialism membership is still a little high for my tastes. 63%, huh? What's boosting it? The capital gains tax. Small business grants is going to reduce this a bit over time, so is the young entrepreneur. The problem with these is they have a long inertia effect, so it takes several years for these to come to their full fruition. So it's gonna be a while, which is one of the reasons you want to pick up these policies earlier rather than later, so that that effect can get started. But okay, moving on into the fourth turn, the final turn of this video, and we're at about 20 minutes or so. That's not too bad. That's actually pretty reasonable, considering. Usually, I'm either way over my time because I don't know how to stop talking, or I'm way under because I didn't talk enough. It usually comes down to whether or not I have a rant. Today I had a few small mini rants. So that's okay. GDP is going up, finally. Unemployment is going down, finally. Credit rating is upgraded. We are now at CCC. You know what? Considering how much this GDP is about to jump, I predict that we're going to go from a CCC to like a AA very soon. The Problem Solvers has no members. You can at least have one. Am I not a member of my own party? Whatever, anyway, 43% of the vote, currently, okay? Well, that's good. What's the terrorism threat? Almost gone. It says that it's very high, but there's only like 10 members of a couple of these groups left, so I think we're more or less safe from assassination from here on out. So technology backwater, starting to dip down. The more technology we have, the better that's going to get. One way we can jumpstart that is to go for these sciences funding. Boost that out and get a particle accelerator. Yes, it costs me a few billion euros for something that Greece is probably never really going to use. But technology goes up by, in this case, about 14-15%. Energy efficiency goes way up. The GDP spikes by an extra 5%. State employees are thrilled, and of course there are more of them because, you know, science funding, we can't just hand out grants to privately owned scientific organizations and subsidize them. No, the government has to own the particle accelerator, and that's perfectly fine. Maybe I can use it for weaponry technology in the future. Unemployment goes down, and most importantly, the technology backwater goes down by about 24%, 23, 24. That's not bad. Yes, it's expensive, but this is something we're going to want to do eventually, and it also has an inertia of a good 16 turns, which means the sooner we start it, the sooner we're going to get that effect, so that's pretty nice. The GDP, actually all this has really high inertia. Yeah, if you have the money, you want to do science funding fairly early on, if you can, but, you know, oh well. Liberals. You're happy with me. The married tax allowance is something we're doing. We are meddling with marriage by basically subsidizing marriage to encourage people to, you know, stay married. Which, interestingly enough, I know a lot of people think that this is a very religious and conservative thing, and I suppose to an extent it is. I don't think this necessarily has to reduce liberalism membership in the real world. But the thing is, so I on one hand, I'm kind of against the married tax allowance in my personal life simply because I don't want the government really necessarily in the business of marriage in the first place. It's not really, that's not really the government's place to define terms. It's just there to recognize a contract between two voluntary parties. That's pretty much it. But on the other hand, from just purely a sociological standpoint, from the studies I've done, there's definitely a nice advantage to having a couple stay together and raise their children and not be divorced or have children raised in single-parent households, if it is avoidable. I understand that's not always the case, but it tends to produce more well-adjusted offspring in the next generation. Otherwise, there's a higher risk of behavioral disorder and crime and stuff. Not to say, I know some people get really sensitive about this, that's not to say that, like, single parents aren't doing their gosh darn darndest. Of course they are. And maybe they even succeed. But the statistics suggest that it is a higher likelihood. So having people stick together is good. So to that extent, I don't know. Maybe it does do a social good. But I don't know. I'm conflicted on that one. Either way, we're not going to mess with that one for liberalism membership. But if I want to increase liberalism membership, then I suppose one easy thing we could do is go to art subsidies. You might think this is a total waste of Greek money, and it probably is. But it increases liberalism membership by 4.88%, and guess what? We have an election in just another year or so, actually. Maybe 2 years, because I did this wrong. Whatever, we're going to increase this ahead of time. It's going to have a 16-turn inertia. Unemployment goes down slightly. That's practically negligible. Education goes up, though, which is nice. Tourism goes up, which can be good for the economy, especially in a place like Greece. You'd think we'd have pretty good tourism, simply because of the sheer number of monuments out there. Foreign relations goes up. Capitalists see this as a distortion of the free market, and it kind of is. Kind of is, but I think that I'm more or less okay with that, at least for now. Do we have... Interesting. The modder did not include a natural bonus to Greek tourism. I think that's a mistake. I think they totally should. I really want to go to Greece and see a lot of the historical sites, personally. But whatever. This is a good place to end this video, so thank you all very much for watching. I do hope that you enjoyed. We got rid of the debt crisis. Now we're just going to continue to improve the economy, get rid of the technology backwater, make us a bit more competitive. So people will start getting a lot more money. We can already see it starting to jump. That's fantastic. And then we just have to get reelected, which I think is actually going to be a lot easier than people think. So max difficulty so far working out to be not too bad at all. Thank you all for watching. Hit that like button if you enjoyed. Leave a comment, subscribe, hit that notify bell, and I will see you guys next time.